Jack, before we get into the second half of this mock draft, we'll rehash on the first half. But more importantly, I tweeted out a Masyn Winn home run yesterday because it was hit very hard and it was a really nice swing. That's the Cardinals prospect, of course. And the other reason I tweeted it out was that your silky smooth voice was on the call. You got to see Masyn Winn in action yesterday. I feel like he's slid under the radar a little bit in terms of just conversations. I'm not saying in terms of like rankings or anything like that, but he's not going nuclear because he's being challenged as much as any prospect is being challenged right now as a 21-year-old. He was 20 years old at season start in AAA. This is one of the youngest guys you're going to see at that level, if not the youngest all year long. And you came away impressed.
So I have now been at the ballpark to watch him take infield and BP for 2 days. I'm going to go for a third today. And let me tell you, like, Memphis does as close to a full IO as I've seen. Like, they do full infield. They've done it twice now in the first 2 days. And I have had a great time watching Masyn Winn. And I love the point that you bring up because Winn has, I think, for the last year and a half been the Robin to Jordan Walker's Batman. Like, it's been all about Walker. But now Masyn Winn is like the far and away top guy, and Tink Hence left in that Cardinals organization.
Yeah, top position player far and away, though.
Yeah, far and away. And Winn being, I think he just turned 22, actually, but he's
21.
He's 21 years old. He's
21.
A young 21.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Masyn Winn, here's the thing, man. Like, this is my first like truly live look at him because all the road games that I've called of his, I've done remotely. And he's impressive on TV, but I'm watching the same stuff that you guys are. But just being like around this guy and about 50 feet away from this guy and then watching him from the booth, he's a bigger dude than I think you would expect. And that's a testament to him. Like, he was, small and lanky, I think. And now he's starting to fill out and get very defined. Like, this is a fire hydrant of a guy. And he's got some juice, man. I'm buying a lot of stock in Masyn Winn right now because his infield is meticulous, incredibly impressive. His batting practice is incredibly impressive. He was wearing a bucket hat that he would flip like the lid up to look like a sailor hat for his BP round so he could see.
That's it.
But no, his BP was awesome. And in game, he has looked mighty impressive and mighty in control too. I think this is one of the better shortstop prospects in all of baseball.
I'm with you. And the things you can't teach, the arm is an absolute rocket. It's an 80 arm, right? And the numbers, you see a 723 OPS, you're like, okay, whatever. 16% strikeout rate for a guy that, again, was 20 years old at the season start in AAA is remarkable. I think he's dealt with some bad batted ball luck. This is a guy that can motor and for whatever reason has a 291 BABIP. I generally, you won't hear me reference BABIP too much, but when it's a fast guy who he doesn't put the ball on the ground egregiously, but he 41% ground ball rate, like he should have a higher BABIP. He doesn't. And I do think that a large part of that is a little bit of bad luck because you look at some of the expected stats, they look pretty good. This guy's extremely talented, and I think he's only going to get stronger. The exit velocities are very average, but as you mentioned, he gets into the power pretty well. Like when he gets one, he gets one. And he also has just kind of a knack for being able to hit the ball in the air with carry. And I think we saw that with the home run that you called. He was not cheated at all. The approach is really good. The bat to ball skills are really strong. This is a guy that isn't going to have the nuclear numbers that I think would shove his way into top 30 prospect consideration. But you got to look at what he's doing as one of the youngest players in the level, flashing the tools while also, I mean, this is a high ceiling tooled up player that really has some refinement to his game, as you mentioned. So I was really excited to hear that you had the same takeaways or that you were this excited about him, from what you saw in person. And I think he's only going to get better. Obviously this is a very advanced challenge for him. And, he's responded pretty well. Any other takeaways before we get into the rest of this mock drafts?
Yeah, well, we're going to talk Cowser real quick. Colton Cowser made his big league debut, and Cowser is a direct injection of more fun into an already incredibly fun Orioles team. But Masyn Winn burned me on a call, actually, and I want to share it with you. Like, this is one that I was like, shit, I got fooled. I'm going to show you on YouTube. I'm going to hold it up and I'll play the audio into the microphone so you can hear it. But Masyn Winn, like he picked up a chopping ground ball for Miguel Andujar, and I was like, this guy's gonna fucking rip it. And then it was just a normal throw. But here it is. I'll send you this clip.
I'm like,
Recefo is 1-1. That's a high chopper over to short. Masyn Winn ready to show off the cannon. And the long throw gets in.
he looked like he was geared up to absolutely rip it.
To smoke it. He fielded that ball. It was a chopping ground ball that he grabbed on the outfield grass. He double pumped and like took a crow hop. I was like, we're gonna see 100 across the diamond right now. And then I was like, boop.
I think you can blame Andujar there because I think he was geared up to absolutely rip one, and then he saw Andujar dogging it, and he's like, I can just throw this regular.
He's kind of pissed. I was ready to see 100 across the diamond.
No, I love that. It would have been a sick call because again, not a lot of play-by-play guys know the whole background of the tools and all those things, and that's a perfect example of how you can kind of lean into that and make the call that much cooler. It would have been sick if he ripped a 100 because you would have been on a pipeline without a doubt with that clip. But quick on Cowser, we talked about him on the JB show. This is a great move to bring him up. It seems like the perfect time. Unfortunately, you have a Kyle Stowers who's been hurt most of the year. Now he's just kind of trying to get his feet back under him. He's I believe doing rehab assignments right now. And I think Cowser can kind of fill that Stowers role exactly. Maybe Stowers is trade bait. I don't think that you're going to move Cowser at this deadline. And you asked me a little bit ago, would you rather move Cowser or Kjerstad? I think it was a couple episodes ago. And it was a tough one. And ultimately I said Kjerstad. And I think that there's a little bit of that maybe being shown here with the Orioles feeling a bit more eager to call up Cowser. I do think that part of it is, one, Cowser can play center in a pinch. Two, Cowser is, I believe, a better, I think, more advanced hitter at this stage. His chase rates are half of what Colton or half of what Kjerstad's are. I mean, Cowser's chasing at a 16% clip. You have Kjerstad chasing at a 35% clip. So that's one side of it. I think also Cowser just has a little bit more of the track record at this point of just mashing in the upper levels, while Kjerstad is just now making up for lost time. Cowser's going to help this team. It's that simple. I think that he can serve a similar role. I don't know if he's going to thrive as much as Josh Lowe is thriving because it took some time for him to get there, but I think he can serve that similar role. Mostly face right-handed pitching and take care of business, can fill in center if you need it, but I don't think they'll need it. This guy's numbers against right-handed pitching, I mean, he's answered the questions left on left, but against righties, a 1,015 OPS, 20% K rate, 19% walk rate. That's all I got to see. That's all I got to see. I do think that there's going to be a little bit more growing pains with the left on left. 923 OPS this year, though, left on left is fantastic, considering that a lot of people left him out of the top 100 due to left on left concerns. I think he's hedged those concerns in his long-term outlook that he can be competitive or at least league average left on left, which is all he needs to be because he's fantastic against righties. But in terms of helping a playoff team right now, what he can do against righties helps a playoff team right now. And he's dynamic.
Yeah. And to speak farther to the left on left point, like just throwing the impact away, because the impact is a whole nother conversation. Against lefties in Norfolk, he hit 313 with a 424 OBP. So he's seeing the ball well, and he's driving it and finding grass at a 313 clip. Against righties, he was 335. He had a 470 OBP at a 1025 OPS. So like righties, never a concern. It's never been a concern. But the fact that he's just hot objectively and like is taking that momentum from mashing right-handers and turning that into a really good season against lefty bats. I mean, dude, anybody on the face of the earth is going to take a 313 clip and a 903 OPS.
Oh, 100%. And I think you hit a really important point here. The Orioles are in a spot where it's let's ride the hot hand. Whoever's performing, let's bring them up.
And they did it with Westberg.
Let's help keep this pace 100%. And you look at what Cowser's riding into, his debut here, where he had a nice debut. He was 1 for 3, but he had a rocket of a line out and he walked. I don't think he could have asked for a much better game at Yankee Stadium to debut. Yep. But he wrote a 4-game stretch now where he was batting leadoff and playing center for Norfolk. And in those 4 games had 7 hits, a home run, 5 walks. So he was really feeling good. And I mean, he's been great all year, but I think he was just kind of kicked it into another gear over the last week. they pick up on that opportunity. They bring him up, and he's a guy that's going to take his walks. He's going to run into homers, and that's exactly what they need, especially against righties. Orioles just got better.
You think he goes back down? Like, here's the thing with Joey Ortiz, I think we knew that he was going back down at some point.
Yeah.
With Westberg, we knew he wasn't going back down. Cowser might be in between. I don't think he goes back down. I think he's going to take this opportunity and run with it.
I think that's part of the reason why they went with the more safe profile over Kjerstad. Like Kjerstad, there might have been some volatility. Maybe, he struggles with some whiff.
Although he did go bridge to left center yesterday.
Did he?
Yeah.
Kjerstad did. That's
408. Yeah, 108 off the bat, 408 to left center in Durham.
Oh yeah, 4 for 4 with a bomb and a walk. Jeez. Yeah. But that said, again, translating into big league competition, I'm going to take the guy with literally half the chase rate, similar contact rates, and the ability to play center. So I think that's really the difference. He can help them more now. They can get him more regular at bats. And I think that's just the difference between the two. Very interested to see how they handle some of these other guys. They're going to have a 40-man crunch very soon. And, we'll see what they do about that. I think at the deadline, they're going to have to really figure out who are the pieces that are a part of their future and who are the pieces that, unfortunately, just because of, how much talent they have, may end up having to be trade chips, in a larger package for, maybe a Dylan Cease or some other really talented players. They can put together some competitive packages.